Hi everybody, Dr. Cobb here. I assume that you've made it to this video because you watched our blog on the overhead press and listened to me talk about how the visual and vestibular systems can actually impact on your client's ability to do a good overhead press with a kettlebell, dumbbell, whatever. Now, what I want to do is give you a little bit more brain science around this thing because, as I said in that blog, if you're a health and fitness professional, it's time for us to start moving our work with clients forward by really getting more deeply into neuroscience and understanding how the eyes and inner ear really impact on the things that we see people do day in and day out in the gym. So we're going to do a little brain science. Bear with me if this is brand new to you. This is all stuff that we cover in our levels 1 and 2 courses of certification. We also cover them in a kind of a basic way in our introductory course called the Essentials of Elite Performance. So all that stuff is going to be available to you, but I really want to get you thinking, all right? Because what I do is I've spent years and years and years taking complicated neuroscience and trying to make it practical, stuff that you can learn in a day, or 2 days, or 4 days, which is our certification courses, and immediately know how to go back and apply with your clients. So let's talk about the brain, guys. If I have a client that's overhead pressing with their right arm, there's a basic pattern that's going to follow because the information that's coming in from the sensory system in the right arm is going to go to my right cerebellum and my left brain. Now, what we want to understand today is that cerebellar part, all right? So the cerebellum, if I draw a kind of a side view of the nervous system, well, let me give it a color that we can see. We've got kind of this brain here, we've got the temporal lobe coming this way, we've got the cerebellum down here, and spinal cord. That's a horrible brain, by the way, but just bear with me because I do neuroscience, not art, all right? So this is the cerebellum. And this is a key thing for all of us in the health and fitness world to understand because the cerebellum does what we call the ABCs, all right? The cerebellum is dealing with accuracy of movement, maintaining balance in the body, and coordinating motor control. All right, so you can think about the cerebellum ABCs, accuracy, balance, and coordination. Now, if I have a client and they're doing an overhead press on the right side, and then they do an overhead press on the left side, and let's say I'm doing a kettlebell version where I want them to follow the bell with their eyes and head, what we often see is I'm awesome over here, lousy over here. Now, as fitness trainers, we then try and figure out the biomechanics of it, right? Like, okay, is it the deltoid? Is it they're not stabilizing well with a lat? Do they have a problem in the opposite hip? Are they not using a good strong core contraction to create stability? The issue is all of that stuff that we're talking about, a lot of it's controlled reflexively by the cerebellum talking to the rest of the brain and then the brain talking to the body through the spinal cord. Now, here's where it gets really interesting in terms of the blog that I shot. All right, because we have this. Now, let's go back to this idea of I have a client, they're doing an overhead press with their right arm. Now, if I did this, you can see that my eyes are going up and to the right. All right, so what I'm going to show you now is a little bit more brain stuff. We're going to draw a couple of eyes here. All right. Okay, now, this is your client. All right, they're looking at you right now. If they do an overhead press up into the right with a kettlebell and their eyes have to go up and to the right, each of these motions is controlled by a different muscle. In the right eye, I'm going to put an R here and an L here. The muscle in the right eye is called the superior rectus. And this one over here sounds weird because it's the opposite of how it seems like it should be named, but this is actually the inferior oblique. Now, why this is important is if I have a problem with an overhead press, it may be because my eyes simply are weak. That these two muscles have not had enough practice going to this range of motion, and as a result of that, I'm going to get a reflexive weakness caused by these guys not doing their job of firing into the cerebellum. Now, also important to understand in this is that this motion, eyes up and to the right, goes into the right cerebellum. Your cerebellum is divided up into a midline and 2 halves. So this upright eye motion is dependent upon the right cerebellum being healthy, and the right cerebellum health depends on being able to do this eye motion. It's a kind of a complicated loop. So that's one thing. Now, if I'm also doing this kettlebell press, I'm rotating my head to the right. That involves my inner ear. In your inner ear, you have 5 different things that sense motion. 3 of them are called canals, and the canals sense head motion. Okay? If I turn my head to the right, guess what? That activates something called the right horizontal canal, and guess where it goes? Into the right cerebellum as well. So what we actually see is something as simple, quote unquote, as an overhead press with a bell where I'm turning my head to the right and my eyes are going up into the right. I have 2 major control systems that reflexively fire into the muscles of my neck and spine and core and legs to stabilize me. And if these are broken in any way, if I have a problem with my vestibular system and I can't turn my head to the right and get appropriate firing from the inner ear into my cerebellum, that's going to show up like this. Poor accuracy, poor balance, or poor coordination. So I've got this bell, and I'm like, lousy coordination, and you're saying, hey, press up until you lock your elbow. Is your elbow locked? Yeah, my elbow's locked. Lack of accuracy. Bad coordination. Bad balance. All right? So basically what I've just described to you is everything that you see your clients do day in and day out. And trust me when I tell you, you can't always fix that by adding more tension and focusing more on activating muscles. We have to start thinking about movement as a 3D system. The visual system, the vestibular system, the proprioceptive system all interlink, and they interlink both consciously and unconsciously. And as health and fitness professionals, we owe it to ourselves and to our clients to understand the unconscious reflexive processes that are occurring, how to assess them, how to give people exercises to fix them, because when we start doing that, you start to reach that upper echelon of thinking that creates results for people that everyone else is going, you know what, they're unhelpable. So, going into 2015, think this through. If you have any questions about this, feel free to contact us. We're going to put our email down here underneath the video. This is what we do for a living. We look at neuroscience, like I said, try to make it super simple. That was simple. And show you how it impacts on movement. And again, help you walk away knowing exactly what to begin doing with your clients starting Monday morning. So there you go. Enjoy it. If you have questions, let us know. Thanks, guys.